welcome back to my channel, J Dreaming. My name is Haley J. Jones, and today we're going to be making cheese tortellini pesto alfredo pasta. Okay, so today we're going to be cooking all of this in the Instant Pot. This is an awesome dinner because it's a one-pot dinner, which means that you're only going to have to clean one pot, besides your dishes and all that good stuff. I got an Instant Pot, I think my senior year of college, and literally did not touch it the entire year. Didn't even take it out of the box. I was just too scared of it. I don't know, I think they're kind of intimidating. Now that I have kind of broken it out of the box and started to use it, I've realized it's an awesome tool. If you don't have an Instant Pot, that's totally fine. You can always make this on the stove top. We are adding chicken to ours. We usually like to do a little bit of chicken with our pastas too. But if you don't want to, I think it's great without it. Sometimes we do make it without it. So we are just going to start off with our chicken breasts. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those up and then salt them, and then we're going to saute them in the Instant Pot. So let's jump in. Okay, so we are going to start by just cutting into our chicken breasts. We use all natural organic chicken breasts. My husband likes them. I don't notice a difference, but whatever. And so we're going to use one. So there's 3 of us, 2 eat quite a bit, I do not, but especially because we're making them with pasta, I really don't think there needs to be a ton of chicken. So I'm just going to trim a little bit of the fat off. Any like kind of questionable parts that I see, I'll trim off as well. And then what I'm going to do is just cut this into, I'm going to do cubes. Last time I did strips and they got a tiny bit dry, so I'm going to try to do cubes this time. And I'm just going to make them about, here, let's move this. I'm going to make them about 1 inch squares, I think. And that's just going to, make sure they all cook evenly and all that kind of stuff. And then what we'll do is we'll turn our Instant Pot on saute. And we're gonna brown them right in the bottom of our Instant Pot. Okay, so we have our cubes of chicken, and then I also took some time to chop up some fresh garlic. I think that any recipe could use some fresh garlic, always, always, always. So I just like really, really roughly minced it. But we're gonna go ahead and turn our Instant Pot on. I always put a pan, something underneath my Instant Pot. Right now it's not that bad. But when it's on your counter, I've heard of a lot of people's counters like breaking from the pressure or the heat or whatever, so I just try to not put it directly on any surface that I would be like upset if it got ruined. So I have a pizza stone under this, but we're gonna go ahead and take the top off, and I'll just set it back here for now. And we're going to put it on, let's see here, where is it? Saute. And so it's gonna say 30 minutes, that doesn't matter. So this will now be warming up. I'm gonna go ahead and put some olive oil in there. Anything will do. Okay, so now it's telling you it's on, which is a good thing. And so again, just some olive oil in there, and just make sure it kind of swirls around. And then we are going to go ahead and put some garlic salt on our chicken. So I just kind of sprinkle it over. I'm going to take some tongs to kind of mix it. Usually I use my hands, but this is just a little bit easier because then I don't have to wash them all the time. Okay, and then let's add some pepper really quick. I'm running low on pepper, but this will do. And we don't have to overly season this because we're going to be adding a lot of sauces and stuff too. So that looks good to me. And then as the chicken kind of cooks down, we'll go ahead and do the garlic as well before we add our pasta. Okay, so while this is heating up, I want to talk for just a second. So half of this recipe is actually from another YouTube channel. It's called Six Sisters Stuff. And their channel is mostly Instant Pot recipes. If you haven't found them, if you have an Instant Pot, or if you're thinking about getting one, go look at them. They're amazing. But so half of this recipe, kind of the alfredo portion, is from them with a couple kind of adjustments. And then this pesto, which is just like the refrigerated Buitoni pesto, is a household favorite. We absolutely love it. I should probably look into like making my own pesto, but this is a safe choice. So I'm gonna stick with this for now. But I think our Instant Pot is ready to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and just test a piece of chicken out. And it sounds good. So we're gonna throw this in there. And you just wanna brown it for maybe, I would say, maybe 2 minutes, because it's gonna cook in the Instant Pot as well. So the last thing you want is like your chicken to be super, super dry. But so I just kind of make sure it's all touching the Instant Pot, and it's not, you know, sticking to each other or anything like that. And again, you're just gonna kind of watch it and turn it just how you would on the stovetop. This is just nice because all of those like chicken juices kind of flavor your dish too. And you only have to use one pot. Okay guys, so we've had the chicken cooking for a little bit now. I wanted to point one thing out to you. So at first I had it on less, which means like low. And then I switched it to more because as the chicken cooks, I want it to kind of get that nice like golden crust around the outside. So that's what it's doing now. But just in case you don't know, all you do to change the settings here is just press the saute button and it'll scroll through the heat settings. But so this is kind of rounding out about now, so I'm going to go ahead and throw in my garlic. And we're just going to kind of saute that for a tiny bit longer, basically until you can smell it. So like maybe 30 seconds, not too long, and you're just going to want to kind of move it around because you don't want it to burn. That looks good. All right, and so we're just going to turn saute off by pressing cancel. So now that will say off. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these. All right, and now what we're going to do, because Instant Pots, when you're cooking on saute and then you go to pressure cook, you want to make sure that there's some like deglazing that happens. And what that means is you're going to pour a liquid into the Instant Pot because one, the Instant Pot needs liquid to cook, and two, you want to make sure that the bottom, nothing is like burning on the bottom of the pot. So what I like to do is take something like this or like a rubber spatula and just kind of scrape the bottom of the pot and kind of get a couple of those like burnt bits off. And that's going to help to release that flavor into your dish as well. So now, what we're going to do is add our pasta. So this is just cheese-filled tortellini. It is 20 ounces. For us, I think we're going to use the whole thing. I don't see why not. This stuff is great left over too. So what we're going to do is just cut this open and then go ahead and put it right in our Instant Pot. So when you are cooking pasta, this recipe originally calls for rotoni, I think it is. We like the cheese tortellini, but so just look it up on online, like I don't know how long it takes. This for the tortellini, it said 2 minutes. I think rotoni, it's 4. And then also those like spiral pastas, whatever those are called, those are 4 as well. But yeah, you're just gonna wanna look it up. Tortellini, I think, is a little bit more fragile, especially when it has like cheese in it. So I think that's why it's a little bit less. But we'll just test it out. And you can always put the top back on your pressure cooker if your pasta isn't done. I think that's a big misconception, is people think like, oh, I don't want to use my Instant Pot because if it's not done, I don't know what to do. Just throw the top back on. I've had to do that plenty of times. But so now we're just going to be putting chicken broth in, and this is just going to help cook the pasta. So like we said, you know, the Instant Pot needs liquid to cook. So you just want to make sure that the pasta is covered with the chicken broth. I think 4 cups is going to do it for us. If you need a little bit more to cover your pasta, that's totally fine too. And then you're just going to want to pat it down to make sure that all of the pasta is under the chicken broth. If some is like peeking out a little bit, that's okay, but you just don't want any like whole pieces of pasta underneath your broth. Okay, so now we have our broth and our noodles in there, so we're just going to go ahead and put our top on. This is always the tricky part. Okay, lock it, and then we're going to make sure our knob is turned to sealing, not venting. And then we're just going to press pressure cook. Hello? Oh, whoopsies. Pressure cook, and then we already have it on 2 minutes, and it'll say keep warm. That is a default setting, but I like it because it keeps your food warm. And then we are going to, okay, so we got our on message. That means that it's working. This is a quick release recipe, so after 2 minutes, we're gonna go ahead and switch our knob to venting, and we'll let all of our pressure out. Okay, so it just came to pressure, so you'll see that it went from on to 2 minutes. So for now, what we're gonna do while that cooks is we are just going to measure out the rest of our ingredients. So I have some Parmesan cheese here and some mozzarella cheese. We need to do about, I would say, a little over half of a cup of mozzarella because the original recipe calls for 1 cup. But because we are kind of halving it and using basil too, we don't want to do too much cheese, especially because it's cheese-filled tortellini too, so I feel like that's just a lot. And then so we have about a half a cup of cheese, and then we're gonna do maybe a half cup Parmesan, or a little bit less, and we will make sure to add some more at the end. That looks about good for me. And then, alrighty, so that's done. We'll leave that in there for just a second. And then I think what I'm gonna do is I think what I'm gonna do, it calls for a full, what are these called? Block of cream cheese. But I'm just gonna do half or maybe a little bit more than half, because again, we're kind of combining 2 recipes, and I want to make sure that the pesto is prevalent and kind of like gets its time to shine. So, all right, let's go ahead and take this off. So again, we're going to do a quick release, so I'll show you what that's like, and then we'll let it quick release all the way, which can take like 2 minutes or so, and then we will open it up and see if our pasta is done. Okay, our pin has dropped here in the back, which means it's safe to open. So I'm just going to unlock it and then pull up. Let's see. All right. They look cooked. I don't know. Let's toss them. Okay, so the good news is our tortellini is cooked. The bad news is it is very soupy, but that's okay because we're just going to strain it really quickly. Even though the chicken is cooked in there, I mean, I think it will be okay. Straining it won't do anything to the chicken. So let's adapt this recipe. We're gonna strain the tortellini. Okay, so now we have strained pasta. Again, this was my first time making it with tortellini, but that's what we prefer. So that's okay with me. If I have to strain it, that's fine. You didn't have to with the original recipe, but now, again, this is counting up now because it thinks it's natural releasing. We can go ahead and cancel this, or you can have it on keep warm or saute so that it kind of melts the cheese and stuff as we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and just keep it on keep warm actually, and throw the cheese in there. So we have some mozzarella and then we have some Parmesan. And I might just add a little bit more of this, just more mozzarella in there, because we have quite a lot of tortellini noodles in there. And then we are also going to add, I'm gonna start with a half a block of cream cheese. If we need to put more in there, we can. Okay. Go on in. All right. And then we're just gonna kind of toss that around in the warm pasta so it's gonna help everything melt. Okay, so we have the cheese in here. It's getting kind of like sticky and stringy, so I'm gonna add a tiny bit of milk. And then we'll go ahead and add our basil. So, yeah, that looks better. We just needed a tiny bit of liquid. The cream cheese is melting really nicely, so now we're gonna go ahead and add our basil in, or sorry, our pesto. I guess it is basil though. And we are just going to start with maybe half of it, I'd say. So I'm actually gonna turn the heat off first because this specific sauce does say not to have heat on it. So we're going to put, yeah, let's say about half. I don't think you can ever really go like overboard with something like pesto, but we'll see. All right. And we're just gonna kind of combine all that and mix that around. Again, you wanna kind of use like a folding motion, I guess, because especially tortellini, that's a little bit more, I don't know, fragile, I guess you'd say. You don't wanna like rip it open because they're cheese filled. And so I just kind of like fold it all together. And I'm gonna say we could use a little bit more basil. So maybe like 3/4 of the container. That's good. All right, let's try that and see where we're at. That looks pretty good to me. So now I'm going to plate this up and then we'll eat. But let's go ahead and scoop some of this on there. So you can see it's really cheesy. The tortellinis look great. Let's make sure we get some chicken and stuff in there. And then I always like to top it with a tiny bit more Parmesan cheese. So I always just kind of sprinkle it right over the top there. And then that's pretty much it. One thing you can do if you want to add a little bit of heat to this recipe, sometimes I'll add red pepper flakes. But I think this is going to be amazing just the way it is. And besides all of your cutting boards and your dinner dishes, you only have one pot to clean. Okay guys, well thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, or you like this kind of content, this cook with me deal I've got going on, please like this video, comment down below. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. I'd love to have you on this channel. There's more exciting things to come. Thanks guys, bye.